This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Uganda and Tanzania signed a deal for the longest electrically heated oil pipeline in the world. Why a potential $1 billion standoff looms over the recent Suez Canal blockade. And the U.S. Secretary of Defense makes a two-day visit to Israel with meetings touching on the Iran nuclear deal. Hello and thank you for joining us on Africa Live. I am Peninah Karibe. Also coming up tonight, Muslims prepare for the holy month of Ramadan, which is expected to begin on Tuesday. And in sports, we look at the success story of Zimbabwe qualifying for the AFCON finals despite financial constraints and the COVID-19 pandemic. We begin tonight in East Africa. Uganda and Tanzania have signed agreements to kickstart the process of building a crude oil export pipeline. The over 1,400-kilometer pipeline will run from Hoima in western Uganda to the Indian Ocean port of Tanga in Tanzania. The pipeline project is the main prerequisite for the production of Uganda's crude oil resources. CGTN's Michael Baleke has that report.
The oil pipeline project, which is expected to cost $3.5 billion, will be the longest heated pipeline in the world. The project is expected to unlock between $15 and $20 billion into the economy. And the Tanzanian leader says the deal will strengthen partnership and cooperation between the two countries.
The project will yield revenues to both countries while creating short and long-term employment for both highly skilled and semi-skilled professionals, as well as casual laborers, thus addressing the unemployment challenge, especially among the youth.
Uganda discovered oil in 2006. The country has 6.5 billion barrels of proven reserves. However, it has taken the country 15 years to reach a deal with the oil investors. But President Museveni says the wait has been worthwhile since the entire region stands to benefit.
This pipeline project can be a core of bigger developments if the brothers in Congo and South Sudan choose to also use it for their oil. At the maximum, it can carry 230,000 barrels per day.
The falling global oil prices, as well as the recent disruptions caused by the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, have also been blamed for the slow progress. The two leaders also discussed the possibility of using the oil pipeline route to develop a parallel gas pipeline that will return liquefied natural gas produced by Tanzania to the Ugandan market. Uganda wants to use the gas to develop its iron ore deposits, but also promote it as an alternative source of cooking energy. The meeting in Kampala also touched on the plans to build a 60,000 barrels per day refinery that will process excess crude oil into finished products to be consumed by the local and regional markets. The date on when the actual groundbreaking of the pipeline project will take place is yet to be set. Michael Baleke, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
In Chad, voters have been casting their ballots Sunday to elect a president. The election is likely to see President Idris Deby extend his three-decade rule. Deby, who is 68, is one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. He seized power in 1990 in an armed rebellion. In 2018, he pushed through a new constitution that allows him to stay in power until 2033. By mid-morning Sunday, few voters had showed up at polling stations in areas considered opposition zones. Among Deby's 6 competitors is former Prime Minister Albert Bahimi Padaki. Several other opponents are boycotting the race, including 2016 runner-up Saleh Kebzabo. Kebzabo has vowed to make Chad ungovernable should Deby win. Observers are closely watching the turnout after several recent anti-government demonstrations turned violent. A heavy military presence is patrolling the capital, N'Djamena. Benin's President Patrice Talon also voted Sunday in a controversial election boycotted by some opposition parties. He voted at a primary school in the commercial capital of the country, Cotonou. Here, he encouraged people to cast their ballots despite intimidation by fighters who he said had attacked police officers. Protests against the election took place this week, with 2 people reported dead as a result of the violence. President Talon is seeking a second term, with critics accusing him of purposefully barring his opponents from running. Those in the race are Alassane Somanu, who was a minister under former President Thomas Boni Yaye, and Corentin Kuhu, a veteran politician. Talon says strong economic growth has been realized under his leadership as Benin became Africa's top cotton exporter in 2018. Investigations in Egypt over the cargo ship which blocked the Suez Canal for nearly a week are still ongoing. Suez Canal Authority said it may seek compensation around $1 billion. The Ever Given is estimated to have some $3.5 billion worth of cargo. Head of the Suez Canal Authority, Lieutenant General Osama Rabey, warned that the ship would not be allowed to leave Egypt if the matter goes to court. Here's Adel Mahri with more on that story.
Egypt says the ship that blocked the Suez Canal last month will not leave the country until the investigations are over and the compensation agreement is reached. All of the Ever Given data logs, captain communication recordings, and mechanical instructions have been retrieved. Experts say the investigations are not designed to determine who was responsible. Rather, they're analyzing how the grounding happened.
However the investigations unfold, marine law states that the ship's captain is responsible. When the canal's guide boards the ship, he becomes part of the captain's crew. Therefore, the company owning the ship, and in turn the insurance companies it contracted, are going to pay the compensation. The investigation's purpose is learning what happened so as to avoid similar incidents in the future.
During the 6-day blockage, the canal lost nearly $15 million daily in transiting fees. The cost of the grounding extends to include tugboats, dredgers, and manpower used to float the ship.
There is also the rescue reward, which is a maritime custom. The Suez Canal team was extremely professional in the rescue mission. The ship was saved without any damage to its body or any malfunction, which is rare in such cases. The daily revenues of the Suez Canal are not only from the transiting ships, there are also additional services provided to ships. All of this is being calculated and negotiated with the insurers. No figure has been reached yet.
Litigation could be complex, though. The vessel is owned by a Japanese firm, operated by a Taiwanese shipper, flagged in Panama, and was heading to ports in the Netherlands. That could see the ship stay with its cargo for months if the dispute goes to international arbitration. Earlier, the chairman of the Suez Canal Authority, Osama Rabia, said compensations could go over $1 billion. Taking into consideration the financial losses and the cost Egypt paid for the rescue, experts believe the compensation will probably be much less. It's still going to be a decent amount. Expectation is it is going to be a 3-digit figure in millions of dollars. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Israel says it will work with the United States to make sure any new agreement with Iran safeguards Israeli security. The comments from Defense Minister Benny Gantz come as U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin makes his first visit to the region. CGTN's Stephanie Freed reports from Tel Aviv.
The U.S. is reconsidering re-entering the Iran nuclear deal that was forged in 2015 and that the Trump administration then eventually dropped out of. Israel absolutely doesn't want a return to that agreement because Israel has said, specifically Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that Iran presents a tremendous threat to Israel in terms of enhancing its nuclear capability. So the timing, as those talks were happening to re-enter the agreement, that's important timing as well. Recently, there's been a back and forth, a tit for tat at sea between Iran and Israel. Most recently, last week, a mine blasted an Iranian military ship in the Red Sea, and then in March, a missile hit an Israeli merchant vessel in the Iranian Gulf or the Arabian Sea. That's been going on for a long time, but the understanding or the fear is that that would escalate. So right now the timing of this going back and forth, of the talks, of Israel's concerns about the U.S. re-entering that agreement, that makes this meeting certainly very crucial and critical.
The Kremlin says Russia has no intention of waging war in eastern Ukraine, where conflict in Donbas has flared again in recent weeks. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says no one in Russia will allow for the possibility of war with Ukraine. Russia has defended a recent troop buildup on its border with Ukraine, saying it is preparations for self-defense. The UK Foreign Secretary and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken have both called on Russia to de-escalate the situation. Skirmishes have escalated in recent weeks in the Donbas region. Local media in Kiev have reported that one Ukrainian soldier was killed, with one wounded in shelling on Saturday. You're watching Africa Live. Let's take a quick break. Coming up. Muslims prepare for the holy month of Ramadan, which is expected to begin on Tuesday. Too sleepy all the time? Well, check if you have a treatable sleeping disorder.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Johannesburg, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Muslims around the world are preparing to mark the start of Ramadan beginning Tuesday. Ramadan is the most sacred month in Islamic culture and is marked by a period of intense prayer, dawn to dusk fasting and nightly feasts. CGTN's Yasser Hakim looks at the preparations being made ahead of the start of the holy month.
Aware of the economic challenges being faced by the low and middle income earners due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, Egypt's government has established markets countrywide to sell basic goods at discounted prices ahead of the holy month of Ramadan. The fairs, called Ahlan Ramadan or Welcome Ramadan, are handy during this period as people stock up on groceries and dates.
Our aim is to provide the basic necessities to the people during the holy month of Ramadan. We provide all types of goods, including food and cleaning products. There are 171 companies selling everything from cooking oil to meat and fish. The private sector, state-owned national services companies, the military services, the Ministry of Interior company, and the state holding company are all here selling products at competitive prices.
Ramadan in Egypt had its own traditions, which include families and friends gathering every day to eat after long hours of fasting. Prices of food and sweets naturally increase at this time, which makes Welcome Ramadan markets popular.
I heard about this fair and its discounts in the media, and because the purchases for Ramadan are many, I decided to come with my parents to buy things like cooking oil and various types of food. The offers are very good. I didn't expect prices to be so low here. I'm impressed with the variety too. The basic commodities sold here are rice, vegetables, beans, cleaning materials, and then there are special sweets we eat after iftar.
I bought rice, pasta, sugar, tea and other stuff like soup, salt and many other stuff we use throughout the month. It's better buying here because you find everything in one place and at competitive prices.
The government has doubled the number of Ramadan fairs this year to counter the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Last year, the fair was cancelled because of the coronavirus pandemic, but this year the government went ahead with it, and that is really good, as it has created high demand and stimulated the market.
We produce all types of liquid cleaners, home care, vehicle cleaning and textile cleaning as well. We are offering 40 to 60% discounts on our products.
We prefer during the Welcome Ramadan fair to sell food products, all basics for Ramadan meals as well as some home cleaning products. There is no doubt we have been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The food product to a lesser extent, but everything else is still very much affected.
The Welcome Ramadan fairs are not just supporting the consumers, but are also giving a boost to the market for producers and sellers who have faced tough times due to the pandemic-induced economic fallout. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
People living with sleep disorders battle their condition as they try to lead normal lives. Narcolepsy, which is one of these disorders, is a condition where patients have excessive, uncontrollable daytime sleepiness and may suddenly fall asleep at any time during any type of activity. CGTN's Wilkis Tanyabwa spent some time with a person living with narcolepsy and filed this report.
When Marianne steps into the doctor's office, she comes with high hopes and great expectations.
Sockets for recording the brain.
That's because his office offers answers to questions others may not be able to answer. Dr. Peter Muthenji is a clinical physiologist, and his work involves diagnosing sleep disorders. Marianne is living with narcolepsy, a chronic sleep disorder characterized by overwhelming daytime drowsiness and sudden attacks of sleep.
It's a disorder whose origin is the brain. The problem of narcolepsy is characterized by several things. One of them is excessive sleepiness during the day. In other words, you have kind of sleepiness which you are not able to control.
Patients may also lose control of their muscles. Marianne first started to exhibit the symptoms while in high school.
Sometimes when I'm taking breakfast, I could doze off without knowing. And then also when walking to school, I used to fall asleep while walking. Like one day I almost fell, and then my classmates were like, are you normal? Are you on drugs or something? What is wrong with you? How can you fall asleep while you're standing?
It would take Marianne 5 years to get a diagnosis of narcolepsy.
I was very happy. I was in the clear, I'm not lazy.
That diagnosis changed her life. Narcolepsy is one of a host of sleep disorders originating in the brain.
It is important to find out why, because there could be reasons to why that is happening. And if there's intervention done early, that might be able to help you.
There are different interventions that are effective on different patients. Medication doesn't work for Marianne. Instead, she has learned to live with the condition. Tasks such as cooking, driving, working, or using public transport can be dangerous because of the risk of falling asleep. But among understanding friends and relatives, she has found support.
It's like self-acceptance, it's on a daily basis. You have to remind myself, this is a condition I'm living with, and I'm not able to control it. So I think that is the major reason why I worked hard for me now in terms of being a graphic designer to employ myself rather than being employed.
And as more information about these disorders becomes available, people living with sleep disorders hope that the rest of the world will wake up to that reality to also offer support and understanding. Wilkis Tanyabwa, CGTN.
Tunisian authorities have inaugurated the Second Chance School in the capital, Tunis. The school aims to train thousands of school dropouts in the North African country. Adned Shawashi has this story.
The Minister of Education pointed out that thousands of online applications for enrollment in the Second Chance School had been submitted. Tunisian authorities plan to reduce the number of school dropouts in the next 3 years.
This is a very important initiative. The Second Chance School will help the Education Department save school dropouts from the streets. The students are aged between 12 and 18 years. They can either return to the formal education system, join vocational training facilities, or launch their own projects.
The Education and Vocational Training Department have appointed qualified teachers and a competent staff to teach and manage the school.
Our objective is to prepare students for professional integration. A group of teachers, educational counselors and trainers, as well as psychologists, accompany the students to find their way and start a successful career.
Sirine lives in a neighborhood where many children have abundant education for personal, social or economic reasons. She views the second chance school as a life-changing experience.
I have been confused since I left school. I watched the news on television on the second chance school, then I registered and joined the adventure to change my life. Here, I can realize my dream by becoming a makeup artist.
Bilal is a learner who will graduate in 2 years after completing the Advanced Vocational Training Certificate.
I am proud of this experience because I'm learning new skills. I want to become a mechanic and open my own auto repair garage. This time, I will not leave my school without a diploma in hand.
According to a report on the situation of children in Tunisia, there are some 102,000 dropouts in the country. This study was conducted and published by the Observatory of Information, Training, Documentation and Studies on the Protection of the Rights of the Child at the Ministry of Women, Family, Children and Seniors. More than 1,200 early school leavers who have been outside the school system for at least a year have joined the Second Chance School in the capital city, Tunis. The Education and Vocational Training departments will inaugurate 3 additional schools in different cities across the country. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
And ahead in sports, we'll look at the success story of Zimbabwe qualifying for the AFCON finals despite financial constraints and the COVID-19 pandemic.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
And we head to the English Premier League. Newcastle fought from 1-0 down to defeat Burnley 2-1 at Turf Moor. Steve Bruce's side was second best to a dominant Burnley, who took a first half lead through Matei